Good morning. You're finally going to get your exam video from me. I apologize. I had technical difficulties yesterday. Somehow the video got deleted. I don't know what happened when it was uploading to the YouTube. So I'm sorry. I don't know what happened, but I already added the PDF of this presentation as an assignment with 0 points, with no due date, obviously, for you to review. I encourage you, please hear me, I encourage you to be familiar with terms that are directly associated with these key terms, but you can assume that the majority of your exam is going to come from what is in this presentation, and that's because I really want you to focus on what we're about to go through as the foundation of business and society and how you're going to implement it in your business program here at Barton. So I'm going to, there we go, okay. So I want you to think really about what business and society is. I want you to think about that relationship between business and society, how they're interdependent of each other, thinking about a stakeholder, and stakeholder was in a different chapter, right? But I want you to think about what a stakeholder is, knowing that a stakeholder isn't necessarily a stockholder. A stakeholder is anybody that's vested. You're vested in Barton. You're a stakeholder. I'm a stakeholder. Anybody that has any kind of interchange, investment, or dedication to any organization, business. So I want you to know that. I want you to think about forces that continually shape business and society. So if you think about that, think about COVID. COVID really changed a lot of businesses and society in general. So think about that connection. And of course, if you take away anything from business and society, I want you to think about corporate social responsibility. So thinking again about the relationship, I want you to think about an organization that strives to make a profit as a business. You need to think about the marketing aspect, and I've got a slide on that, but I want you to think about, producing, marketing, reaching the demographics of consumers and society. Think about the human beings and our social structures or our demographics that are collectively created and again work together. And they are highly interdependent, right? Business and society go hand in hand. One depends on the other for success. So let's talk about CSR for a couple of seconds. I want you to go back and read the articles that were attached to some of the discussion posts. I want you to be able not to cite them, but I want you to think outside of the box with some of them, because it may be an essay question. So think about those articles. Think about, tying corporate social responsibility to other businesses, implementing it into COVID. And a lot of you, when you wrote your comparative papers, did that. You talked about COVID with corporate social responsibility, and I was very impressed. Again, think about the stakeholders, right? So anyone that has a responsibility with a business, like I said, I am a stakeholder. You're a stakeholder to Barton. I'm a stakeholder with my husband's company and my children's school, right? I have an investment in some way. I want you to think about the philanthropic ability to give. I was in college where I went to school for my undergraduate. I was in a sorority, and we had a philanthropy to give back and do community service for breast cancer research, and it really impacted me. I had a personal connection to that, and so philanthropy is a huge thing. It's a way to give back. It's a very organized way to give back. And corporate social responsibility, obviously, they're very closely parallel together. A corporate social responsibility can come out of a company's mission. It can be a very intentional, built into the company, like Tom's was founded for corporate social responsibility, but I passed a bad example, but brand new CSR that I've noticed in the last week. I passed a Corona truck, and they had huge stickers and decals all over their truck that they plan to clean 100 beaches by 2025. So that's brand new. I haven't seen that campaign yet. The first time I saw it was, on the side of their truck. But it's great. If you think about their marketing, and their marketing is always on the beach or in a social gathering around water, for them to say they're going to clean beaches, that's really giving back, but it's also an investment kind of in their business, right? So think about things like that. Donations are more of the philanthropy thing, right? So being involved in the organization to raise money and volunteerism for breast cancer research. So I want you to think strategically about that. Go back and read that section in your textbook. All right, so let's talk ethics for a couple of minutes. Ethics is a big thing. When you come to Barton and you go through your FYS class, you're actually going to talk about making decisions, right? You're gonna go through some emotional intelligence training, and I want you to think back to thinking about ethics. I want you to think about social responsibility in general, and being able to just be a good human, I think. And with that, think about ethics and being in a situation where you have to choose if something's ethical or not, and what makes something ethical, right? How do you have that set of morals for judging whether something is right or wrong? So think about situations. And then I want you to think too about a company that may have lost your trust for some reason, right? Why would a company lose your trust? For me, I lost trust in Papa John's, and I refused to eat Papa John's because of the former CEO, using an inappropriate, derogatory, racist term. So I won't eat Papa John's anymore. Tylenol lost a lot of their customers back in the early 1980s because some of their pills were tampered with and killed some people. Think about things like that. Who has lost your trust? It could be a celebrity, it could be a business, it could be a team. But think about that, and I want you to think ethically about that, because it may be an essay question. So I also want you to be familiar with the word justice and thinking about individual rights. So go back to the textbook and look those terms up. All right, so thinking about business ownership and thinking about how to start a business, right? You're going to go through a lot of classes here at Barton if you're in the business program, and you're going to talk about corporations, you're going to talk about partnerships, you're going to talk about LLCs, you're going to talk about all these things. So being familiar with this chapter is important for you to be successful in the business program overall. But I want for you to think specifically for the exam about these terms: a partnership being two or more individuals, and then general partners, and that difference of general partners, general partnership. Okay, make sure that you know that difference. Think about franchising. Franchise, like Chick-fil-A, right? You go to Chick-fil-A and on the wall it says this franchise is owned and operated by Christy Proctor. So know that, and then know what a corporation means, right? That it's in existence from its owners, and so the owners are not personally liable for the business or entity's debts. So if hypothetically, if the CEO of Toyota was sued, he would not be personally liable. Toyota would be liable. All right, let's think about management and leadership, because some of you may be considering going through the 3+2 program at Barton, which we can talk more about when you get here, to get your master's degree in 5 years. So you'll have an undergraduate in business administration with a master's of business administration in strategic leadership. So I want you to pay attention to this chapter. And if you haven't thought about the 3+2, come talk to me. I'll help you with it. So I want you to think about corporate culture and standards. I want you to think about the effectiveness of being able to produce a desired result, efficiency. I want you to think about leadership. You can think about leadership in any capacity you want to. Think about your coach. Think about your parents, your reverend. Think about, Dr. Cersei here at Barton. And think about their leadership style, right? I want you to put your real world experiences, apply those to this chapter. And then I want you to also think about strategic planning. And I put that term in here intentionally because Barton is about to release our new strategic plan, which is where our president and his team or his committee make a new plan for goals for the next 5 years. And sometimes companies, corporations will have just 1 year strategic plans, but 5 years is a pretty normal strategic plan length. So I want you to be able to think about what that means. Be familiar with the terms within strategic planning, and be ready to learn what our new strategic plan is the week you move in. All right, global marketplace. This is near and dear to my heart because I work with so many international students. I want you to think about a global vision and what it means for being able to recognize international businesses. Think about how COVID affected it. How can we be prepared, to, sly away from threats? Think about the competition. I want you to really go back and dive in a little bit more to the global vision section of the book. I want you to think about imports and how imports can be affected by tariffs, the trade deficit, and devaluing a country's currency, based on the global marketplace. All right, so a couple more slides, and I want to spend the last minute. I've only got about 3.5 more minutes on my recording, but I want you to think about products and pricing, and those of you who did brand positioning as your comparative presentation and paper. I was very impressed. Many of you had really great comparisons. So I want you to be familiar with these terms. The 5 Ps are something that you're going to use very frequently in your time at Barton. Marketing classes are going to be tough here, right? So be familiar with marketing concepts and the product. I want you to think very, very deeply about culture and that demographic segmentation of reaching your consumers. All right, so the expectations for the exam. I expect you to be honest. I expect you to not cheat. I want you to study and know these terms that I've shared with you. And when I've said, make sure you know the terminology around something, I want you to make sure you go back and read that section of the book again, okay? Because there may be an open-ended question with, you can just give me a 1 or 2 sentence response. But for the most part, the exam is going to be multiple choice. When you take the exam, please note that it may be a choose all that apply answer. So there may be 5 options for you to choose from, and 4 may be correct. There may be 4 options to choose from, and 1 may be correct. So be very careful when you're choosing your multiple choice answers. And with your essay responses, when I say I want you to write in the APA style, I want for you to, if you do cite something, right? If you do reference Tom's, or if you reference Pura Vida, I want for you to have the citation ready. So if you want to prepare some examples and make sure that you can do your in-text citation, make sure you just list where the reference came from. I don't want for you to have to do not do a whole title page. You can't do it. It's only it's a 500-word response. I just want you to write as clearly and as succinctly while being able to explain as possible. So when you write your paper, no less than 500 words, okay? There are going to be 2 essays, 500 words each. I will count them. I will check them for plagiarism. And I want for you to reread your paper before you submit your exam. Because remember, in your papers, if you had deductions, you had deductions for misspellings, grammatical errors, punctuation errors, or lack of explanation. But I'll also deduct if it's shorter than the 500-word requirement. So I want to encourage you, and I put this on the assignment, to download Grammarly. Grammarly is a great free tool to use to check your spelling, punctuation, pluralism in sentences. It's a great thing to have on your computer. And I want you to remember that we will have 2 different drop-ins on Thursday evening at 5:30, and then again on Friday morning at 7:30 if you have questions about the exam. And I want you to take advantage of that. Email me. If you want to do a one-on-one, I'm here to do that. You just need to email me and let me know. Thursday and Friday, I'm pretty much off the books because I'm in a retreat all day for the athletics department. But I do want to help you, so let me know how I can, and good luck.